Hello everyone, welcome to the Lighthouse Assemblies on a very nice sunny day. Today we're going to look at two very important words, dignity and respect. Now, dignity is about what we're like as a person. A person who has dignity is the sort of person that always does what is right and good. They always tell the truth. You can always trust them. They will always do the right thing and they always do the good thing. They will always show kindness to other people. Usually people who have dignity are respected. So the word respect is about liking or admiring somebody because the things that they do and the things that they say is always so good and right. Respect is also about thinking and caring about other people. We think about their feelings, or we might make sure we are thinking and considering them about the things that they might think or the things that they might want to do. Again, it's about goodness and kindness and doing what is right. So today I want to tell you a story that helps us to think about these two words, dignity and respect. And it's not a very nice story. It's about me when I was 19 years old, and at that time I was at college and I was learning to be a car mechanic. Now, I loved being at college and I did really well, especially in the classroom. But one of the guys on the course who used to sit in front of me in the classroom really struggled. He was great at fixing cars, but when we were in the classroom, he sometimes struggled to keep up with the things that we were learning about. One day we were having a lesson, and I think it was probably about wheels and brakes and things like that. And this guy sitting in front of me was asked a question by the teacher, and he was really struggling to find an answer. And at that moment, I decided to do something very silly and actually very mean. What I did was I leaned forward and I whispered to him the wrong answer. And he used what I said to tell the teacher. And of course it was wrong. Now, what I was trying to do was make a joke out of him so everyone would think I was funny. But actually it backfired. The teacher knew what was happening, and I think they heard me whispering to him, and it was me that got told off. You see, I wasn't behaving with dignity. I was actually being very mean and cruel to him. I wasn't showing him and his feelings respect, and at the same time, at that moment, I lost the respect of the teacher because they knew that I had done something really mean to this guy in my class. Well, today we're going to look at another story, and it's a story from the Bible, and it's about a man called Daniel. And even though he faced a really tough situation, he showed dignity and respect throughout. There was once a rich and powerful king, King Darius of Persia, and he ruled a huge empire, which meant he was king of many, many countries. And to help him, he also had many advisors. And one of his advisors was a man called Daniel. Now, Daniel wasn't from Persia. He was from a little country called Judah. And he worshipped God. So 3 times a day he would go to his bedroom window, which faced west towards Jerusalem. And he would open the window and he would pray to God. And God saw Daniel, and God cared about Daniel, and he helped Daniel to be a good advisor to the king. The king would often call for Daniel because God had made him so wise. And Daniel was always able to tell the king the right and good thing to do. The king listened to Daniel. Everything that Daniel advised him to do always worked out really well, and he was really pleased with him. He became the king's favourite advisor. In fact, he intended to put Daniel in charge of the whole empire. The only person that would be more important than Daniel would be the king himself. This wasn't going to be good. The other advisors wouldn't like it. This would mean trouble. All the other king's advisors became very jealous of Daniel because he was the king's favourite. So they decided they were going to spy on Daniel to see if they could catch him out and get him in trouble with the king. But he never did anything wrong. The only thing they spotted was that 3 times a day he stood at his window and prayed. So they came up with a cunning plan. They were going to trick the king to make a new law that would get Daniel in trouble. So the advisors came and they knelt down in front of King Darius on his throne and they tricked him into making a new law. "Oh, King Darius," they said, "you are a great and powerful king. No one is more important than you in the whole world. And we think you should make a new law. For the next 30 days, if anybody needs help, they must come to you. They're not allowed to go to anybody else or even to pray to their God. They've got to come to you for help. And if they break this law, that means they've got to be thrown to the lions, and no exceptions." The king thought this was a wonderful idea. Why would the people go and seek help from anybody else but him? He was the great king after all. So he made it law. Nobody was allowed to go and seek the help from anybody else, even God himself. Now, as we will see, this was going to cause a big problem. You see, in Persia, once the king had made a law, that law could not be taken back, not even by the king himself. Once he had made his law, that was it. Everybody had to obey it. This new law made things very difficult for Daniel. He didn't want to disobey the king, but he couldn't stop praying to God. So, as usual, he went to his bedroom window, which faced towards Jerusalem, and 3 times a day he prayed to God. So once more the advisors went back and spied on Daniel. And of course it worked a treat. Very soon they spotted Daniel praying at the window. Now they could go back and they could tell tales to the king. While the advisors gleefully came back to King Darius. "Oh, great and powerful King Darius, do you remember that law you passed about everybody needing to come to you for help? Well, you know that Daniel, we caught him standing at his window and he was praying to God. He was asking God for help instead of coming to you. And you know what that means, O king? Daniel's going to have to spend the whole night in the lion's den." It looked like their cunning plan had worked. When the king heard the news about Daniel, he must have thought, "Oh no, not Daniel. I didn't think this was going to happen when I made this law. What am I going to do?" And he spent the rest of the day thinking how he could get around this law that he'd made. But there was nothing he could do. He'd made the law and that was final. There was only one thing for it. He had to give out the order. Daniel had to be thrown to the lions. So Daniel was taken away and thrown down into the lion's den. Imagine what it must have felt like for Daniel as he went down into the lion's den. It must have been terrifying. He was hoping and praying that somehow God would help him. And as he went down into the den, the soldiers rolled a huge, great big stone across the entrance of the den and everything went dark. It was now him and the lions. Now these weren't African lions, they're Asiatic lions from India. They look a bit different to African lions, but they're just as ferocious. And the people in charge of the lion's den would have kept them hungry just for moments like this. They were very dangerous. That night the king couldn't sleep. He paced up and down his throne room, worrying about Daniel. He couldn't wait until it was morning. Oh, please, 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 may Daniel be okay. As soon as the sun came up, the king rushed down to the den. What was going to be left of Daniel? As soon as the king got to the den, he ordered the soldiers to roll back the stone. And he called down into the den, "Daniel, Daniel, are you alive?" And there was Daniel at the bottom of the den, looking up, blinking into the daylight. "It's okay, O king, I am alive. The lions haven't touched me. My God has rescued me. He sent an angel to close up the mouths of the lions. I'm alive, I'm well. Oh king, I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't done anything against you." The king was so relieved to see Daniel alive and well, and immediately he ordered that Daniel be released from the den. He knew he had been tricked by his advisors, and he was really angry. And he said, "Right, I'm king. I'm the one who makes the laws around here. I'm going to make another law. Anybody who tricks the king, they're the ones that get thrown to the lions." And with that, he got his advisors thrown into the den. So this time, it was the advisors' turn to be thrown down into the den. And once more, the stone was rolled across the entrance, and it went pitch black. But this time, there wasn't going to be any angels. Did you notice how Daniel showed dignity throughout the whole story? God had made him wise, and he always knew the right and good thing to say and do. And even when things went terribly wrong for him at one point, he carried on showing dignity and showing respect. He always did what was right and good, no matter what. Now, in this story, God continued to help him and rescued him from the lion's den. In the end, things went very well for Daniel. Not so much for those advisors. Sometimes when we show dignity by doing the good and right thing, sometimes people don't like it and they might turn against us. Now, usually things will turn round and get better in the end. But sometimes they don't. Showing dignity requires strength to carry on doing what is right and good no matter what. Now, in the story, God did help Daniel to remain strong. And in a moment we're going to pray, asking God to help us to be strong, to behave with dignity and respect and do the right thing no matter what. But before that, I've got some things that I want you to think about. Maybe you could do it after the assembly. Why did the king respect Daniel? And why were the other advisors so jealous of him? How did Daniel have the courage to do what is right? And finally, what one thing have you learned about doing what is right and good from today's story? Have a think about those things. I want to finish now by saying a prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you for this story of Daniel. I thank you for what it teaches us. It teaches us about how he was strong and he always did what was good and right. He never grumbled. He never complained about what was happening to him. He showed respect throughout. Thank you that the story tells us that you helped him. So we ask now, help us. Help us to have that strength and that love to show dignity and respect, to do what is right and good no matter what. Amen. It's been great to be with you. I look forward to seeing you very soon.